What's up, guys? Well, we finally got the premiere episode of the Chucky TV series. This is something that we've been hearing about for a couple of years now. It's something that I was initially skeptical on, and then the more that I saw of it, I started to get really excited, and now we finally have our first taste. And this is going to be an 8-episode series on USA and Sci-Fi if you've not already seen it. And I will also be following up this review tomorrow with a live spoiler discussion. I'm going to have guests every single week throughout this entire first season. So be sure to hit the subscribe button if you are a fan of Chucky, if you're a fan of this TV series, so that you do not miss any of that content. Now, as far as this first episode that was titled Death by Misadventures, I'm pretty happy so far with what we've got in this show. Not perfect thus far, got a couple of things that are worrying me, a couple of things that I don't necessarily like the approach of, but overall, it does feel kind of more along the vibe of Curse of Chucky that I was actually a pretty big fan of. So far, so good. Starting off with the positives, I love the fact that this first episode, at least, really does feel like classic Chucky. It feels like that back to its roots approach to where you have the good guy doll put into the hands of a kid. Weird things start to happen surrounding this kid and the doll. The kid eventually finds out that the doll is actually alive, and then he's the serial killer Charles Lee Ray. And by the end of this episode, you already start to see slight hints that people are going to start suspecting this kid of all of the misadventures that's going to be going on by Chucky. So very classic approach. And for somebody that loves this franchise, to somebody that's been a diehard fan my entire life, I love the fact that they've gone back to that basic classic approach, because after some of the zaniness that we've gotten out of the past couple of movies, I think it's good to kind of get a palate cleanser, go back to what we know and love, and just do what we know and love. I also thought that the utilization of the doll, as well as Brad Dourif's voice acting, as well as the lines that they gave him, were all awesome here. That was something that I thought was sorely lacking in Cult of Chucky, which was the previous movie that led into this show. I just felt like, I don't know, something about it felt tired. The line delivery, the lines that were written, they just didn't feel top-notch Chucky. Here so far, it feels like classic Chucky. I mean, his attitude, the way he's telling everybody at this talent show that they're all a bunch of fucking assholes and I'll see you later as he gets off. I mean, that is just that classic attitude that we get from this character, and that classic dark humor that I absolutely adore.
It's contagious, isn't it? Laughing at people. Well, guess what, dickheads? Now the joke's on you.
And I gotta admit, so far I am really intrigued with all of these new characters that they've introduced thus far for this first season, namely the main character Jake, who's the kid who gets Chucky. They've introduced him as kind of a bit of a tragic character, to where his mother died in the past, his father turned to alcoholism's pretty much a prick, doesn't really seem to be that loving of a parent in the first place. They're hinting somewhat at him being a closeted homosexual. I don't know if that's something that they're going to explore throughout the series, or if that was just something to kind of give extra context to the disdain that he had for his father, because his father clearly did not like that. So there's a lot of different layers to this character already that I'm interested in seeing how they're going to explore that throughout these 8 episodes. And I think that whenever the episode ended and it was actually showing that Jake is, at least for a while, going to be somewhat complicit in all of Chucky's madness, really excites me for what's going to be going on, because we haven't quite seen that yet. We haven't seen somebody that Chucky latches onto that actually takes part in the carnage. Usually they're the victim, or they're the person who's kind of like the red herring the entire time. If he's going to be helping Chucky get back at all these people in this neighborhood that in his school that treat him like shit, it's going to be a really interesting story. I also liked how so far they're just kind of slowly hinting at things to come from all of our returning characters from the movie series. Like, we got a phone call from Andy at one point whenever he saw his eBay ad getting ready to sell this good guy doll, and he was asking all these questions. Is his name Chucky? Has things been happening? Is there weird things going on? Have you checked his battery slot? Stay the fuck away from that doll. And to me, that's perfect, because as I was saying on the horror show when I was kind of giving some of my predictions, that's a good way to approach it, is to get us into this new show, get us into these new characters, into this new setting, figure out what Chucky's plot is, and then slowly integrate all the characters into the movie series so that they're not overtaking the entire show. That's good, and I like the way that they're slowly doing that. And finally, I do like Don Mancini's directing style. Now that I've seen 3 movies with him and now 1 episode, he did direct this one. I don't know how many other episodes in the series that he's going to direct, probably the finale. It's usually how it goes. but he does have a distinct style to him visually. There's certain ways that he likes to transition scenes. There's certain things that he likes to do as far as like zooming in on certain things and kind of having a very classic approach to the visualization of certain emotions with just people's faces, as well as the way that he uses production design and the way that he kind of builds out a room. Like there's always some real classic, almost Hitchcockian flavor to at least one room in a house in any of his movies. You know, not so much Cult because that was all a white, you know, a hospital, a white insane asylum, but especially in Curse and a little bit in Seed. But there's one scene in here where he goes into his room at his aunt and uncle's house that he's going to be staying in, and just the wallpaper alone kind of gives you this old classic 50s, 60s horror vibe. And I always like that he kind of brings that classic approach to his directing style. Moving on to the mixed aspect, I already knew this walking into this show, and it was something that I was very, very hesitant about as it is, but they're going to be exploring the origins of Charles Lee Ray throughout this series, and they just give you a tiny little nugget of it. The episode is bookended by Charles Lee Ray as a kid, and there's one mention of him and some kind of a slaughter that happened in his family that created Charles Lee Ray. And I don't know, they could do something really interesting with that and flesh the character out more, or they could do something that absolutely destroys the mystique with him. It could go either way very quickly and very easily, so I'm gonna hold out hope that maybe we head this direction and they do something to really make the character a little bit more of a fleshed out villain, I guess, even though I think he's pretty damn fleshed out. But I'm very nervous that the more questions that they start bringing up and the more answers that they start giving us, that Charles Lee Ray is going to be diluted a little bit by the end of these 8 episodes. But we'll see. Now moving on to the negatives. This is a giant pet peeve of mine, so this might be something that doesn't really bother a whole lot of other people. It's totally a me thing, and I acknowledge that right up front. It annoys the shit out of me whenever they try to represent high school life and they totally get it wrong. And this is actually middle school life, so it's even more egregious, to where you have kids that are not only like full-on evil bullies, but like straight up assaulting kids in the middle of class, and the teachers don't say shit. I mean, you got a chick who is just complete bitch, talking down to adults, threatening adults. Nobody does anything about it. Nobody really even cares. They get to a scene where she is like introducing this talent show, and she's just mean girling everybody in the audience to the point where she's just berating people verbally. And the teacher and the principal are just off in the curtain, kind of like, let's see how this plays out. And it bugs the living shit out of me, because, I mean, this is just from my experience. We all draw from our own experiences. I've been bullied in the past. It's never that bad. At least it was never that bad for me. And whenever they try to really amp it all up to where it just seems like the kid is just damn near gonna get murdered in school at any given moment, it takes me out of it. It takes away the realism. There's ways that you can get bullying across. And they even have a little thing at the end of the episode about, you know, go to this website if you've ever been bullied. So they're trying to make a statement here. There's ways you can get bullying across in a very realistic way and still be impactful. Having kids be this evil and parents and teachers be this dismissive, it's just a trope at this point, and I hate it. In my final negative, the one kill that we get in this episode, I did not like at all. It involves Chucky spewing out like 5 gallons of vomit onto the floor, which is just too much. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's a bunch of different ways that you could have done that. I understand Chucky has electrocuted somebody at least 4 or 5 times throughout this series, so they were trying to do something different with it to not be redundant, but that was ridiculous. I mean, I could think of a dozen other ways you could have done that kill and make it be more impactful. That was just too silly for me. But overall, guys, for 1 episode into this 8-episode adventure we're about to go in, I am happy thus far. Like I said, a couple things that bothered me, but nothing that really took me out, nothing that's making me dread the next episode. I'm very much on board for what they're doing here, and I hope that by the end of these 8 episodes, I'm gonna be dying for a second season, because I'm a Chucky diehard fan, I'm a Chucky champion. I want this show to succeed. I want all of the naysayers, I want all of the skeptics, myself included, regarding certain things, to be silenced by the end of this. I want this to be one kick-ass show. And so far, we're heading that direction. So for me, you get a thumbs up for the first episode. So what did you guys think of episode 1 of Chucky the TV series? Are you a Chucky fanatic? What do you think of it? If you're not a Chucky fanatic, what did you think of it? Do you hate this episode thus far, or do you think this is already better than the past 2 or 3 movies Let me know all of your thoughts down below, guys. Please like and share this video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are a Chucky fan. You want to see my coverage for this show over the next 2 months. Plus, we got Halloween Kills coming out this week, so if you're a Mikey fan, I got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe for you as well. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to help contribute to this channel on a financial level, help keep the lights on, and also get exclusive perks and exclusive content for your contribution, please check out my Patreon page linked down below. A lot of different perks and a lot of different tiers that you could see which one fits you, if any of them, and I appreciate your consideration for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.